right, I believe we have, because we had singing, we did that. So Brian, you can have Brian Brown come on up.
Come over here.
We're on Brian right now. Pam.
Yeah, here.
Oh, see? Yeah, it's so fun.
I once spent some time as a stand-up comedian, and I always wondered how comedy became vertical. And I've decided I'm a sit-down comedian. And, what do you call a comedian who performs sitting down?
A stand-up comedy?
A sitcom. That's as good as it gets. I was thinking, St. Patrick's Day is going to be on the 17th, which is just the Saturday after this one. So I was thinking about doing some Irish stories. And I thought I'd start with a key question. What do you, in our age group, it's probably applicable. What do you call a, how do you put that?
I think he's having a senior moment.
How would you define Irish Alzheimer's?
Irish Alzheimer's.
Irish.
How do you define it?
You forget everything but the grudges. And that was authentic because I was trying to remember what is the answer to that one.
That's good, you remember.
Definition of Irish diplomacy. That's when you tell somebody to go to hell, but you do it in such a way that they can't wait to start the trip. This is the quintessential Irish proposal. So it's sort of a tongue-tied farmer, and he wants to ask his intended, he wants to pop the question, but he doesn't know quite how to go about it. So Mary, she says, just do it your own way, Tom. And he says, well, okay. He says, so how would you like to be buried with my folks? These are my people. How many of you here are Irish?
Not a drop.
Three.
Four.
Four. Yeah.
Half Polish.
That would admit to it.
How many full Irish?
How many what?
Full Irish. That would be on your mother and your father's side. That'd be correct.
Wow.
Sheila's full Irish.
Does it help if your father was born on St. Patrick's Day?
That's a bonus. That's a
In
bonus.
Norway.
Right way, wrong way, and in Norway.
It's probably a dumb question to ask a bunch of Scandinavians, but here we are. Deidre, how many? What is your extraction? Are you half or quarter?
Half Irish, half Polish. Rostkowski.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Deirdre Rostkowski. You can't forget it.
No, you can't forget that. Sheila, you're the real McCoy. You're Irish on both sides. Well, you're Anglo-Irish, right?
Yeah, but that's still Irish.
I'm not finding fault.
Just means one's Catholic, one's Protestant, but they're still Irish.
I'm Irish on my mother's side and German on my father's side. So you know this thing about right brain, left brain? where supposedly your right side of your brain is the most creative and the most romantic, the most inventive. The left side is much more analytic. So, true story, I'm driving with a friend, I think from Dublin to Cork, and he's handed me the map while he's driving, and I must be very vague in my responses to him, because finally he sees a road rest and he pulls the car over, slams on the brake, and he says, look, I'm sick and tired of talking to the Celt side of your brain. Is there any way we could clue in the crouch side? True story.
Did it help, Brian?
We got to Cork. Yeah. Ever notice how the Irish answer, they'll answer a question with a question. So how do you get to Dublin? Is it Dublin you want now? Or they'll use an answer to, they'll use an answer to your question to drive you to distraction. Here it is. I'm pulling up in Dublin, I'm going to the airport, and but I've taken a few wrong turns just as I'm getting there. And finally I see an old fellow by the side of the road. And I said, so what's the quickest way to the airport? That's the quickest way you want to know. Well, he said, would you be driving or would you be on foot? And I'm in the car. And I think, well, did he think I rented the car to ask him the question? So I said, in the motor car. He said, that's the quickest way to the airport.
That's my level.
The Irish seem to be great at sometimes getting themselves into an historic situation with no reason for them to do that. Two old fellas are walking down the sidewalks in Dublin, and one turns to the other and he says, you know, I was standing on this very curb, he says, the very curb, when the Archduke Ferdinand was assassinated. The young man looks at him, he says, close call. The Irish are great for linguistics. Asked to define manual labor, the student said, the name of the Spanish ambassador. Ba-boom. A portly teacher asked a student, use the word fascinate in a sentence. Kid looks at his teacher, who's large, and he says, Father Murphy has 9 buttons, but he can only fascinate.
Oh.
There's a story, I don't know if it's apocryphal, I don't know if people go around and they're that funny or that smart, but George Bernard Shaw probably was. So the story is he's out in Hyde Park, he's walking along, and Shaw, of course, very gaunt looking fellow. And coming the other way is G.K. Chesterton, who is very large. So Chesterton pulls up to Shaw and he looks at him and he says, Shaw, to look at you, you'd think there was a famine in the land. And Shaw looks at him and he says, and G.K., I can see the cause of it.
Oh. Insults.
Irish woman. She's looking at a shop window and she says, could I, she goes inside and she sees the proprietor, Mr. Leary. Hello, Mr. Leary, or as they said, top of the morning, and she says, and the rest of the day to yourself. What can I do for you, Mrs. Flanagan? He said, could I be trying on that skirt in the window? And he says, well, he said, we prefer you use the dressing room.
What is that?
Three old fellas sitting in a pub in Dublin, and just where this pub is located, right across O'Connell Street, is a building that's it's the city brothel. So the 3 old guys are sitting having their pints, and no one sips a pint as slowly as an Irish pensioner. They can make this thing last for weeks. So they're sitting there and looking at this and that. And all of a sudden, he said, "Oh, will you look at that? Will you look at that? That's that Protestant Reverend Mackenzie coming up. Oh my God, he's going into the brothel." He said, "You know, it just goes to show those holier than thous, always giving us a hard time about this and that." And he goes right into the brothel. They fellas are nodding away, sipping. And that's about 10 minutes later, the rabbi comes by, Rabbi Goldsworth. "Oh, Jay," he said, "look at him." He said, "You know, always going on about the Old Testament, telling us, reminding us, rubbing our face in the fact that Jesus was a Jew. He's in the brothel there, sipping away." A few minutes more go by, and Catholic priest comes up. Now that, he said, "That's sad, that's sad. One of the girls must have died." Irish mountain climbers who they gave up trying to scale Mount Everest because they ran out of scaffolding.
Oh, no.
Fella says, "Where's your dog?" And he said, "Oh, I had to put him down." Was he mad? He wasn't pleased.
Oh.
Driving a country lane, Garda pulls him over, and he said, one of your headlights is out." He said, your signal indicator is malfunctioning." And he said, "Yeah, you've been drinking." He says, 3 out of 3, Sherlock." Last joke.
Okay.
Sherlock reminded. Camping trip, Sherlock Holmes and Holmes, this has nothing to do with Irish. They're out, they go camping. So Holmes brings his violin playing, nice evening, and they spent a lot of time selecting a meal. They got a great steak, a filet mignon, and just enjoying themselves thoroughly. Beautiful night out. And Watson has brought his tent from the old Boer War. He puts it down. Finally, very quiet evening, very reflective evening, they go to sleep. About 2 a.m, Holmes looks and he says, "Watson, you awake?" "Yeah." He said, "What do you see, Watson?" Watson said, "I see the stars, I see the sky." And he knows that how reflective Holmes is, so he says, he embroiders it a little. And he said, "You know, when you look up and you look at the whole universe, it makes you aware of how small and insignificant we are." And he said, "What do you think, Holmes? What are you thinking?" And Sherlock Holmes said, "That someone stole our tent, you knucklehead."
Mr. Brian Brown. Let's give another round. We'll have to sign you up for next weekend for St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You can-
No.
All right, so we're going to have Pam next. We need to do a little technical thing here.
Yeah. Fingers crossed, everybody.
Oh, boy.
Go ahead and push play on your. Yes, ma'am. Ready? This is something I was horn-waggled into.
I've been asking Pam for 3 talent shows to come and sing for us.
Ready? Yep. I hope I'm not upsetting you. There's no business like show business. There's no business I know. Everything about it is appealing. Everything that traffic will allow. Sing along. That happy feeling when you are stealing that extra bow. There's no people like show people. They smile when they are low. Yesterday they told you you would not go far. That night you open and there you are. They say your dressing room they hung a star. It's go on with the show. The costumes, the scenery, the makeup, the props, the audience that lifts you when you're down. The headaches, the heartaches, the backaches, the flops. The sheriff will escort you out of town. The opening when your heart beats like a drum. A closing when the customers don't come. There's no business like show business, like no business I know. You get the word before the show is started that your favorite uncle died in dawn. On top of that, your mom parted, you're broken hearted, but you go on. There's no baseball like show, baseball they smile when they are alone. Even with a turkey that you know will fold, you may be stranded out in the cold. Still, you know you wouldn't change it for a sack of gold. Let's go on with the show. Let's go on with the show.
Yay, Pam! One more hand for Pam.
Never again.
Okay, wait, one more.
So next time I want you in a costume.
One more technical.
That voice is topless. Oh, we've got another song. Uh-oh. She's trying to get out. She's trying to get out of there.
Okay, another technical thing here. Your MC is next, Dowdy Dean.
Magic trick. She's got her bag.
Okay. All right.
And that could happen to you. And Nan was here, and she did just about all those things too. Yay, dance.
Yay.
Okay, we have Keith next. One moment.
Am I going here?
Is he here? He's over here.
We're going to take the microphone over to Keith. Keith, are you still ready to do a little song for you? You can stay where you're at. I've got a microphone for you.
I like that.
That in.
That it?
Yeah.
No, I don't have any shaky dog stories to repeat anymore, so maybe we'll try a trilogy of love stories.
Yeah.
The first one by the Mills Brothers made this one very famous. You always hurt the one you love, the one you shouldn't hurt at all. You always take the sweetest flower rose and crush it till its petals fall, and always break the kindest heart with a hasty word you can't recall. So if you broke your heart last night, it's because I love you most of all. And then there's the one from back in the old days of Boy Scouts. There was a great song. I'm in love with the garbage man's daughter. Slop, slop. She lives down by the swill. Slop, slop. Oh, sweet is the smell of the garbage. Slop, slop. But sweeter her breath still. Slop, slop. Each night as we stroll through the garbage. Slop, slop. Her slimy hand in mine. Her greasy head on my bag in each chest. Oh, that is my love divine. Slop, slop. And Irving Berlin wrote this one back in 1923, the year before Irene and I were born. And they played it at our wedding in 46, and I sang it to my wife the day she passed away in 08. And we were 62 years we were married. You always hurt the one you love, the one you shouldn't hurt at all. You always take the sweetest flower. Oh, edited it? No. That's another song. I'm sorry, I'm going to cover it up here. It's only been 62 years, so I can't remember. I'll be loving you always with a love that's true, always. When the things you planned need a helping hand, I will understand always, always. Life may not be fair, always. That's when I'll be there, always. Not for just an hour, not for just a day, not for just a year, but always. I remember back years ago when Jimmy Cantor, I'm trying to think. I can't. You ever get these points where you get these mental blocks? The word's right there, but you can't spit them out?
The senior moment, please.
So,
And all the time.
what other guy used to? Jimmy Durante. He was on when he was on the TV programs. He always had a very classical ending to his show, and he would come up. He'd be under a spotlight, and he'd stand there and he'd look in the eye, and he'd say, And good night to you, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are. And then he turned and walked away out of the spotlight and into the dark. That was a classical. That was a touching moment that I'll always remember. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
And Keith,
This is
Carol Burnett, your ear tugged.
Jimmy DeGrani grew up in
Carol
a
Burnett,
orphanage,
she always tugged your
and she
ear.
was the foster mother, and they lost touch, and he used to always remember
Yeah.
touch.
That's beautiful.
You lied to her grandmother.
Are you
Okay,
gonna sing?
friends, you have made it to the bitter end. We are going to
There is
celebrate our
dessert.
fun talent show with the staff finale. And when we are finished, then we, of course, are going to be ready for pie. And that'll be in the side room. I think it's basically ready to go. You can kind of serve your own self. It's a buffet. There's plenty. You can have more than one piece. And just enjoy. We have some coffee and water and tea. And thank you again for coming. And we'll see you again at the center. Okay, let's get my co-workers out here.
I thought that was good,
All right.
Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Make him the cutest that I've ever seen. Give him flowers like roses and clover. Then tell him that his lonesome nights are over. Sandman, I'm so alone. Don't have nobody to call my own. Please turn on your magic beam. Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Make him the cutest that I've ever seen. Give him the word that I'm not a rover. Then tell him that his lonesome nights are over. I'm so alone. I have nobody to call my own. Please turn on your magic beam. Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Mr. Sandman, give him a lonely heart like Pagliacci, and lots of wavy hair like Liberace. Mr. Sandman, someone to hold, would be so peachy before we grow old. Please turn on your magic beam. Mr. Sandman, please, 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 Mr. Sandman, bring us all a dream.
We lost the peach crop. That's why Kim was laughing. We were going peachy, and Mary was having a peach, and it fell off in the hallway. So thank you once again. Thanks for indulging all of us, and we'll look forward to our next talent show in October. We'll do it again with ice cream. But now it's time for pie. So come on in, everyone. Let's have some pie.
Oh my goodness.
Very nice.
Very nice. Very nice. This says so myself. You'd like some pie? You'd like a piece of pie?